Today, with the second half of our meeting, we're going to work on our collaborative platform. So as we're inviting people to come join us, we want to be able to tell them, well, what is this organization for? What is our vision for how America should look going forward? And then I'm going to say that, working together, like we can, anybody can just, unmute yourself and just talk as you like. So I've got, so this is our collaborative consensus so far. So I've started with, Brian's three big points: end poverty, end mass incarceration. I said end wars. I think Brian often says end the endless wars, but we're now having different types of wars. So I think we want to end wars in general.
Decentralized power.
Decentralized power.
Poverty is very broad. You have hunger, you have homelessness, you have uh, uh, we could try to end sickness. I guess that's what would universal healthcare would be about. Um, Free education. Um, how about guaranteed employment from your government, regardless if the private industry is able or not able to hire you? And also, how can we give the production and distribution of food to the people? Um, that was with the sustainable program that we spoke about, I believe, a few meetings back, on how through communes we can produce food um at a surplus, so everyone doesn't even have to buy food. Just through collaboration, everyone could, and it's self-sustainable, meaning you don't really need the government to come in and give everyone food. You just need the government to set up these communes so communities could create their own food, and this way the communities are self-sufficient. And so I don't even know how to word that, but put that in there somehow.
Yeah. I definitely agree with the broader idea of ending hunger and ending food insecurity, and basically just guaranteeing that if you're a human being, you should be able to
In
eat.
a sustainable way,
In
meaning in a way that we don't have to keep taxing people in order to come up with new food.
Or
Yeah,
destroy our planet.
yeah. I and I mean I'm not sure I'm completely convinced about, say, the specific solution of like communes. And it occurs to me also that that I've just sort of jumped us in, both feet. And but this is what we want to do. I mean, we've got 7 people in the room. We've all got different ideas, different beliefs, different values.
There's no communes in China, Eddie?
I mean,
I'm
honestly,
sorry, I thought I don't know too much about the socialist country of China, but I figured socialism is very difficult to put into effect without communism. And I've seen some programs where they're trying to turn the desert into forest. And I heard a Chinese person speak, saying that they're the program started so the people who were actually foresting actually get to the yields of whatever crops they're producing, even though it was just licorice at the time, but
yeah.
nonetheless. So I'm trying to imagine what socialist China practice their own version of socialism, and how do they do it without communism?
So
Yeah.
that's not what we're necessarily trying to do here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're trying to end hunger, so I don't see how what other idea would get us to end hunger.
Unconditional basic income, which cuts across every kind of political ideology except fascism.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. We could bypass money. We could all be
No, yeah, but
self-sustainable because
you can't do that until you get people to stop caring about money. You can't get people to stop caring about money until you have it in abundance. Like it's the first step.
no, but money does not equal
Yeah,
to resources. What I'm trying, a commune would give the people access to. Mhm.
Neo. In the United States right now, today in 2022, money equals resources. It shouldn't. It's bullshit. It's dumb. It's stupid. But it's the reality that we live in,
So,
and we're
I'm
not going
talking
to be able.
economics, Sas.
I no. Listen to me.
Resources
No.
and
Listen to me.
money
I'm
are not
talking
the
about
same thing.
Neo.
And
Listen. Neo. Listen. I'm talking about human psychology. So long as people are stuck in survival mode, the ability to change their entire mindset away from what they've been indoctrinated into is just not possible. We need to get people out of poverty first before we have any chance of trying to get people to move away from money in the first place. We need to
yeah,
make
but
money abundant.
it's not sustainable if you're doing
Neo,
it.
it's not about forever. It's about right now.
Sas, let me give this a
Thanks.
try. Yeah. So Neil, in China, there were communes, immediately after the revolution in 1949. um, you know, there was, I think, some mismanagement by the government, at that time, and there were some problems. There were some problems with, they had a period where, the communes were managed by the government, and it was like it was still a top-down structure. So you had Mao at the top, and then you had high officials, and then you had lower officials, and they set up this the system where the officials were sort of rewarded, like if they did a good job and they got more production out of the communes, then they would be promoted, within the party and within the government. And for example, they had a very big problem, because some of the officials figured out that they could sort of fudge the numbers a little bit and say that they were producing more than they actually were. And then when they did that, then the thing was that part of that quota was sent to the central government. So if the official, like if they had if they put the numbers up and said we're producing more, then they had to send more to the central government, and they actually ended up with problems where they had not enough food left in the local area. But I mean that's part of what I mean. That I mean there's there are there are many possibilities, and it's quite a detailed thing. But I think for what we're trying to do, like we want to have a platform that is a consensus, that at the very least the 7S, we can say we all agree on that. And for this, I can say I think we can say that for the 7S, we all agree that we should end hunger, we should end poverty. People should not be insecure about their food. I think that's something we can all agree on. And I want to, we're experimenting with the process here a little bit. So I want to give it a try to say that let's go ahead and go back to the circle thing, because I think this was, faster than we can.
Would I get a chance to
Yeah,
speak?
go ahead. Yeah, you're actually right now you're right below me, so I'll say,
Yeah.
you go ahead, man. Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry. I think I'm being misunderstood a little bit because well, anyway, let me try to word this differently. The issue that I had with universal basic income was that let's say I prefer giving people free housing than free money to go pay rent for housing. And it has nothing to do with, oh, the system that we have of money is the one that's currently here, and none of that argument. I'm talking about efficiency, as in it is cheaper for the government to build a house and have someone live in that house than to have the treasury constantly printing out money in order to keep the capitalistic real estate industry in exploiting the people. So, okay, fine, we're ending homelessness, but if we're doing it in a way where we're using the treasury to constantly pump out money, these are the things that will eventually turn into inflation. So, we can when I speak about food and I speak about self-sustainability, I'm not thinking long term. I'm thinking just like what SAS wants today, right now. So how do we do that without money? Well, we can't be importing all our food, because importing all our food means that we're taking all our money that the treasury is printing and sending it to some other country just so we could get something that we can make here in our own country. So if we don't take the means of production here, at least for food, um, and when I say communes, I mean communes, I guess we have a different definition. Communes is not creating a commune to do production for the rest of the nation. When I think of communes, I think of whoever's working that commune, do they make enough for them? You know, if there's a surplus, that's a good thing, but I'm not trying to make production of food throughout the whole country to feed everyone else in the country. No, I'm trying to make it self-sustainable. And if you just pump more money into it, eventually, if we having an export import problem, then we don't have the means to production, then all the money that you give out is not going to make the grocery store produce more food. So I understand that money is at the core of everything, but money is not resources, and you can, and giving people money does not guarantee that you're going to have the resources that we're looking for. So when I say self-sustainability, what I mean is put in economic mechanisms that allow the community to be able to do what it needs. So when I think of healthcare, or I mean not elder care, let's say elder care, as just trying to throw as many different examples here so my point could be made. So when we're dealing with elder care, yes, we could have, again, the treasury print out a whole bunch of money to have some type of health care, take care of our elders, or we could give a guaranteed job so the community could help the elders in their own communities. And this way, if we're going to use the treasury, we could use it in a way that it's going to stimulate the money to pump it within the community and not have to keep making the capital system that's enriching and ripping off the community be the central processing, central money processing for all the services and resources that the community is going to eventually need. I yield the floor.
Thanks, Neil. TC, go ahead.
Says I have a weak internet connection, but I'm going to try. Neo, I agree with everything up to the word commune, because I'm from the 70s and the commune meant we were going to go in a bus out in the woods and grow crops. And I ain't into it. So what I think we do is we quit throwing away food and we start a process of these jobs you're talking about. People could be gathering the food that's being thrown away and getting it to where people need to eat it. So we could recreate the system and stop the waste and feed all the people. And we could do it basically.
We don't have a surplus to do that.
We
If you
do.
look at the numbers, if you look,
People in this country already go dumpster diving for food that go stop grocery stores in their tracks from all the food they're going to throw out that's not expired, and they give it to food banks and they give it to homeless people. This is already a thing that happens. There are already people in your community who already do this.
that's not enough to sustain, to end
It's not. It's
hunger.
not. No, there's a
Guys,
lot that's not sustainable right
guys,
now.
guys, guys,
But I like.
guys.
We need to get
We don't
away
even
from this
have
kind of-
enough. We don't even have enough to feed the people that are paying for money with the
We
system we
do
currently
have
have.
enough.
Sass, hold on,
Listen.
hold on, Sass, hold on. So I'm just gonna make the suggestion that we stay with the circle. So like you're going to have an opportunity to speak, but you know, unless it is like an emergency, like you're gonna keel over and die, like
All right, so
try
can
to
we just
wait for-
ask for, so then let's just ask for, whenever somebody says, oh, we do have enough, then point me at the figures to convince me, because then it's gonna turn into an argument of, oh, I think there is enough, and no, I don't think it is enough. Let's find out if there is or there isn't enough. Otherwise, we're gonna be arguing like we all know, and we're not showing proof of what we're saying. So
Yeah.
if we want to have arguments like that without
yeah.
proof, I'm just gonna sit
Yeah,
down and
yeah,
just.
hold on. I agree with you. I think we should definitely look at the evidence, and I'm gonna say, you know, back to TC, and then after TC, Namdi, and then we're gonna go around the circle, and we're all gonna have a chance to speak. You know, so just, you know, let TC speak for now, Namdi, and you'll get a chance to speak.
Okay, Eddie, I think you're doing a great job holding this together. There's a lot of energy right now. And I think the man just messaged that he wants to know about the circle and when his turn. I think Justin hasn't even had a chance to speak. So
Will
can I,
he'll be right after Namdi. So
okay, well, I yield.
thanks, Namdi.
Hello. um, I feel like, I don't know, like, if this can be part of the like consensus, but I was kind of thinking, like, so I have a disability and I use a wheelchair, and and I also get like SSDI also. So I was thinking like probably like there's this like a limit where you can get like you can only get up to 2,000, and then if you go over 2,000, then 2,000 in what is it called? If you go over 2,000 in the limit of getting SSI, then they'll take your SSI away. So I was thinking probably like ending the 2,000 limit of SSI, if that makes any sense. Like ending like having us being able to save our SSDI money, like pretty much, because you can't normally save it. You can't have over 2,000, over the limit of 2,000. So you can't necessarily like, or they'll just take your SSI away. So I was thinking maybe just like ending the what is it called? The SSI limit from like just have it like unlimited like we can have unlimited money. Like we can have money over $2,000 of SSI in our, if that makes any sense. So
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Namdi.
Yeah.
If you so if you're done, unless you have more to say, if you're done, then I'll go to Justin, and then Brian, and then Sass.
Oh yes, I'm done. Sorry.
Thanks, Stanley.
Hey, I have different things that I think are interesting to talk about, but I'm not sure how connected they are to the stuff we've talked about so far. Is that all right, Eddie?
Yeah, as you whatever you think is, um, whatever you think you should be talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it would be, I think a couple things to add to the list to end would be, I think it would be really good to end misunderstanding. Sometimes people disagree, but often people agree more than they think, but they just don't understand each other. And so many times people are told things about their opponents that aren't true, and then they get extra upset about people that don't exist, that they only imagine. So I'd say end misunderstanding, so that you would still have disagreement, but at least people would understand, have like a true understanding of what their opponents are saying. I would say also, I would say, sorry, I had all these ideas and I'm thinking, oh, this is something that we can talk about, but I don't know how much it'll interest you guys. I actually don't agree with universal income. And I think that I have an argument that not everyone who's pro universal income has heard. So I don't think it's going to be like exhausting. Like I'm not just like, oh, I hate poor people, but I don't know if you guys want to do that, because that argument could take a lot of time, and I don't want to like drag us into an argument that like everyone else finds not worth their time if you guys are all like, no, we know what we think.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can definitely talk about it, and it's like if you can, like, if you want to be aware of time, and maybe you could bring it up next time, or you could save it for later. It's up to you, man. No rules. We're all free people.
Oh, sweet.
We got a little structure to kind of just kind of keep it a little bit balanced, but I'm definitely not going to say that you can't talk about it. All right.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sweet.
I'd love to hear it, especially since I get to go next and I can respond to it.
Sure, yeah. I would say, let me it's a few different things. One, I guess, before I get into that, I would also say something that would probably have more common agreement is I would say end barriers to transportation. Like, I don't know how it is in y'all's community. Eddie, I know you're in Shanghai, and I frankly just am very clueless about the way it works in a lot of other countries. I imagine that this is probably similar in a lot of other countries, but like in the US, you're pretty screwed if you don't have a car. So that would be either put more trains up or have more bike lanes or something, or just when you come of a certain age, the government gives you a car or whatever, kind of like healthcare. I don't know how you'd end it. But so with universal income, to get into that, that area, one thing is it's really important for men's psychological health specifically. I know it's true for men. I imagine that something similar is true for women, but men really like to feel needed. So if a man is not like needed for work or like providing something, if he doesn't have people relying on him, has a negative impact on his happiness. Like being needed by somebody and like liking his work is more strongly correlated with happiness than like a lot of things that you would think are related to men's happiness. So I'd say that's one thing that if you just, I understand that the idea of universal basic income is not that you give everybody money and then they sit around doing nothing, but it's a very different thing to feel like I am needed at work tomorrow and I have to be there. And if I'm not there, they will be down an important person. That's very different from every day you wake up and kind of do what interests you. And so I think that what universal income, one thing that it lacks is I think it doesn't give people that sense that they're needed. I think another thing that universal income advocates really overlook is that Sass probably just linked a YouTube video that just completely dunks on whatever I just said. But another thing that I think universal income advocates overlook is that we will always have some jobs. We will always have, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure as soon as I list a job, we'll always have, you guys are going to explain me why we won't. But, like nurses, right? Like healthcare workers that are like directly interacting with people, like probably, I'm not sure, tutors will probably have a job for a very long time, computer programmers. And I believe strongly, and I think there's good arguments you can look into to build this up. I believe that the people who do have jobs, especially the people whose jobs are very important, will have resentment building up with them. And I think there will be some justification in that resentment if nothing is asked of the people who are given money with universal basic income. So I think that universal basic income identifies some important things. Machines are increasingly able to replace people. People will have a hard time catching up. I think it's very important in the future when we have a lot of wealth generated by machines and robots to let someone who wants to retrain or reskill, like help them pay for school if they can't afford it. And I think it's very important to try and give people a lot of options with work. But I think ultimately it's very important, unless someone is like unable to work because of a disability, or maybe if they're like a stay-at-home mom or something where they have something that they are doing that is very productive for society. I think unless they are that, they should have some amount of hours per week that they have to be doing something for someone else, and something that would be kind of like a job. I mean, I think you might as well call it a job. And that way they spend their time. I doubt that it would be a 40-hour work week. Maybe it's like even a 20-hour work week or something. But I think everyone is going to have to do some period of time a week where they're doing stuff that generates value for other people in order to receive that universal income check. And it may well be that many people are doing creative projects like writing books or creating other creative works or something, and then people go buy those books or they buy those creative works, or they tip the performer on the street corner. It may be that a lot more people are pursuing their passions, but I think if you're not able to convince someone to give you money, if you're not doing something that makes someone else say, hey, I want to pay you for that, society is going to start to resent you because you're just going to be kind of doing your own thing. And I think that that's going to lead to division in society that universal basic income advocates don't appreciate. I guess I'll yield at that point.
Thanks, Justin. Brian, go ahead.
All right. Thanks, Justin. Yeah, those are, I hear your points. I don't know if you've read Andrew Yang's The War on Normal People. One of the ways that, or you can listen to it as on YouTube, and you can listen to it like 4 or 5 hours.
Do you mind if I say like a little bit more just before you start your response? I know that I just
It would be best. I'd suggest it would be best if you can wait till your next
Okay.
one circle.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks.
So what his suggestion in that book was essentially like not a social credit thing, but sort of way of connecting volunteers. And he gives the example of the guy who helps his neighbor and he gets 20 social credit points, and then he saves up his points to earn rewards and things like that, and some way of keeping score, and to encourage people to help each other and kind of thing. And that's one of the ways that he addresses it. You talked about how the men feel appreciated by having jobs, by feeling needed. And I think a lot of people would like more freedom in what they do, instead of just having to do it motivated for money. Like, if Neo wants to, connect with 10 of his friends and buy a farm in Nebraska, where they know that as a group, they have $150,000 a year to, for external income coming in. And then they can all take turns, milking the cows and planting the crops and doing everything and doing that work that sustains them without having to sell their labor in order to thrive. So yeah, is there a non-zero amount of men who won't do anything productive? Of course there is, but there's a lot of opportunities that people will do things. You said having jobs, a scarcity of jobs. And so another book I'd recommend is Looking Backward. It's written by Edward Bellamy in 1888, and he predicting what the future year 2000 would look like. And it's interesting because the high technology at the time was the telephone, like predates radio and anything like that. But anyways, so because there is a shortage of jobs, essentially people compete to be the best in their field for the privilege of, being, the surgeon on call, or being having people compete to want to be the best. And so that was his suggestion on how you solve that problem of scarcity of jobs. There's other books that suggest that you could compete by, having your basic work week, and the more people who want the job, everybody has this, it's the same amount of, you could change the amount of hours everybody has to work, but you change the amount of hours to increase the supply and demand of labor. And but your last thing about people feeling resented for UBI, I guess that's the problem with the existing system, and that's the problem with means tested safety programs, is that there is that resentment, and that so often the resentment takes on racial overtones, like when Ronald Reagan talked about welfare queens and things like that. And so that's one of the real values in universal basic income, is that it's universal. And so, yeah, so that's my rebuttal to your points. Not to say that they aren't, and that universal basic income, while it's not perfect, it would do far more good than harm. And I yield.
Thanks, Brian. Sass, go ahead.
Julio, great job, Brian. You hit a lot of the same points I was going to. And yes, that video I posted is one of the first things I say in it, and you can just listen to it. You don't really need to watch it. I say, we talk so much about how UBI will, why we need it in the world that we have, but we don't talk very much about what a world with UBI could look like. And so I go into this concept of what I call all work is volunteer. But there's some like specific details to it, and it's an adaptable model. But the short of it is what Brian already said, is that UBI gives us the freedom to rethink work, and like, whereas like right now it's this like sense of being needed is coming from this place that's really destructive, and if we have a basic income, then we have the freedom to reconstruct that concept in a way that is just better for the health of people generally. I will also say, okay, cool. So I kind of want to not focus on like these like little, how do I want to say this? Let's not wish upon a star right now, because I feel like that's what we were getting into for a minute. Is like, okay, I know we say like end poverty sounds like a wish upon a star, but like, okay, end poverty, cool. That's universal basic, like Brian, end poverty, end mass incarceration, and endless wars. There's literally a legislative package for it. Decentralized power. My work with the Equal Vote Coalition, Democracy 3.0 at large, right? Big about that. And barriers to transportation. I like that concept without getting into this like, let's change all of culture and get every human being to think differently. I think that is like a different kind of like, okay, we already have big goals. Let's allow this. Yeah, and misunderstanding is really cool. I don't know if we'll ever be able to end it, but dramatically reduce misunderstanding, and misunderstanding is kind of catchy. So yeah, I can go with that. I think that's cool. So, yeah, but it doesn't all have to be ending stuff. We can start stuff too. We can make new things. We can we can have positive stuff too. So I'm trying to think what positive things we could add. Empower. Oh, come back to me. I yield.
Thanks, Sass. So we are coming up on time. So I am gonna end the official meeting, and then afterwards everybody's welcome to stay around and chat. But I think that this conversation is really good. I think it's a good conversation, and Neo, I know Neo's a little bit worked up about some of this stuff. There's some stuff he doesn't agree with here. There's some stuff he doesn't agree with here. So I think that right now Neo is the most important person in this group, because this is the crux of what we have to do. This is the work. This is the most important thing. And if we can do this, and it's not an easy thing to do. It's a thorny issue. It's a thorny problem. We can sort of almost do anything, because if Sas talked a little bit about how you've got 300 million people, but if you can actually take a much smaller sample of that 300 million people, and a lot of times like you'll actually end up with the same stuff, like 10% say this, 30% say that, 30% say whatever, and that's great, and that's the problem. How do we build a consensus out of that? And if we can do that, then we can unite the people, and if we can unite the people, then we can do anything. So Neo, there's a lot of I have a lot of ideas about economics, and I'll tell you personally, I started more from like a more standard economics thinking, and after looking at a lot of stuff, I've come to the conclusion that the progressives are right, and right, and we need to provide um, services and things to everybody. So Neil, like I'm always um, I'd be happy to talk to you more about economic stuff, because I don't think we're gonna finish that. I don't think we're gonna finish that discussion today. But I think that if we both stick with this together, stick with talking to each other, I think that we can um, come to find the places um, where we agree. We all share one common reality, and we all share a common set of human values. And I think that we can do it. It's not going to be easy, but I do have to end the meeting right now. So thanks everybody who is listening on YouTube, and see you back here in 1 week. Thanks, and stop. And stop.